Our second reading.
I want to start today with a true story about a boy named Jonah. Jonah was 6 years old when his mother first started working at a pizza shop. There was nothing fancy about this restaurant. Mostly people ordered takeout and delivery. And it was one of those places often frequented late at night by teenagers who didn't want to go home yet, or college kids who needed that late night snack. The pizza place was a favorite of Jonah's childhood. His mom had worked there only for about 6 months, but it was a rare moment in their lives when things were going well. His mom was sober, getting along with his father, and they were all happy again. It clearly showed in her work, and when a few months in she received a raise, it was a momentous family occasion. Jonah remembers it well because to celebrate, his mom gave him a bracelet to wear to celebrate. Like the restaurant itself, it was simple and modest, made from that kind of rubbery plastic that stretches, one-size-fits-all promotional item. They give out to basically anyone who might want one. On it was inscribed in white letters, "Let's get pizza." It was goofy, but Jonah didn't mind. For him, it was a meaningful symbol of a happy time. Before long, his mother would lose her job at the pizza place, and life would return to normal. A normal that included empty pantries, unwashed clothing, and constant arguing between the parents. When he was younger, Jonah's parents struggled even to change his diapers. His was a home suffering with addiction, leaving Jonah neglected, uncared for, and sometimes even unsafe. This, of course, was no place for a child. But Jonah didn't have a choice. He survived by holding on to what he did have, what he had been given. He remembers the only gift that his father ever gave him, a plastic microphone that would break almost immediately. And to this day, he cherishes the pizza shop bracelet, the only gift he remembers from his mom. I learned about Jonah through family friends back in Milwaukee, where I grew up. Jonah is 11 years old now and was recently adopted by his grandfather, whom my parents know. The grandfather had many years before adopted Jonah's father as well, and yet had been unable to help him in the way that he wanted. Now, by adopting Jonah, he was able to protect him in a way that he couldn't with his own son. And yet, Jonah's story is not the one story of a helpless child. Jonah is a remarkable child in many ways. We adults often look at kids as less capable than ourselves, less able to think and reason and problem solve and even feel. They are smaller, of course. They have less worldly experience. And while they may not be adults, we only have to remember how it felt when we were 8 or 11 or 6 to remember just how real and deep a child's thoughts and feelings can really be. Jonah proved this in how he responded to his parents struggling after his mother was fired from his favorite pizza shop. As a 6-year-old surrounded by despair and want and instability, he made a decision. Something told him somewhere deep inside that if his parents couldn't give him the kind of home that he needed, he could try to make a home for himself. After his mom gave him that bracelet, after she left her job at that pizza shop, those around him started to notice that he never took that bracelet off. His teachers noticed that he wore it every day to school. His parents noticed that he wore it to bed and when he showered and when he bathed. It became a part of him. Several months later, his aunt had noticed this, and she bought him another bracelet. It was one of those fair trade ones from co-ops based in South America, where each one is a little different because they were not made from machines but by hard-working women. Jonah, when presented with this gift, proudly proclaimed that he loved it because no one else had one like it. He added it to his right arm, right next to the one from his mom. A year later, his grandfather was traveling to Ireland and bought him a third bracelet, a solid one made of stone, a kind of Celtic rosary, exuding grace and protection and solidity. Jonah too added it to his arm. As of today, as of Jonah being 11 years old, he proudly wears 10 bracelets on his arm. And even though he escaped his home of neglect and sadness, he still wears all 10 all the time, up and down his arm. When I first heard this story, I thought, wow, that must feel heavy, all of those things on his arm. Almost a burden, a nuance. But for Jonah, they are freeing. They are liberating. They are what tie him to himself. They, in his words, make home everywhere I go. When he is alone, they remind him that he is loved. When he is afraid, they remind him that he is safe. When he feels upset or unsettled or emotional, they center him and let him find some peace. They are 10 reminders that no matter where he is, no matter what is happening in this scary world, he can always find some home. And no one can take that away. Jonah is clearly a very special kid. His resiliency is incredible. His self-awareness and courage to face his feelings, even the tough ones, head on, is rare for children or adults. He knew that home wasn't just a place, but something that he could find within himself. Many of us know at least something about the experience of being without a home that we love or that loves us back. Some of us here have been literally homeless for many reasons. Maybe we couldn't pay the rent. Maybe our home life as a teen wasn't a place of safety. Some of us here have had to escape our homes, hoping to find another, refugees dreaming of a better life, yet plunged into the uncertainty and the unknown. Some of us have had homes that appear on the outside to everyone else in our lives as loving, but we knew they weren't. Maybe we were a child living with parents who were unkind or unpredictable, or maybe we were trapped in a relationship that no longer worked, no longer gave us life, but instead drained it, and yet we could not leave. A home then became not a place of sanctuary or refuge, which is what it should be, but a cage or a prison or a mockery of the idea of home. We can, of course, struggle with home for other reasons too, simpler reasons. Research shows that moving from one home to the next can be one of the hardest things for even the most stable and settled of us. Maybe we just feel deeply out of sorts with the city that we find ourselves in, but can't move. Or maybe we weren't happy with our home because we're too far from family that we want to be with, or feel trapped because we don't have the resources to get up and go. Maybe where we live feels like a foreign country sometimes. Maybe we don't have neighbors that we like because they blast music loudly, or our apartment is so gross and dirty and full of roaches we can't actually find any peace. Whatever it is, most of us know a time when our lives where we lived was not a home. The underlying truth about homes that if we understand them simply as places that our bodies inhabit, we will be disappointed a lot. Unless we have won the home lottery, found the perfect city, the perfect apartment, we will at some point find ourselves unsatisfied with our homes where we live. Before moving to New York City, I knew that feeling. I lived in different places, having to make homes in spots that I was, not because I wanted to be there, but because that's where I could find a job. I worked hard to make it feel like home. Everything from trying to change my apartment, perusing obsessively IKEA catalogs for the right cozy furniture that would let me feel like it could be my place, to obsessively reading all about the history of the city, all about the culture, so it felt like I was part of it. And those things helped. They helped a little bit. But if I really wanted to feel at home, I had to understand what Jonah did. That real home is something inside of us, not where we are. I've heard it said that the story of our lives, from birth to the end, is the story of the journey we take to find our home. But I don't think they mean physical home. It means that search for that ineffable sense of ease and safety and contentment, of feeling both deeply belonging and loved, but also free, of feeling alive in some true way with who we are. There's a wonderful quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great Unitarian minister and thinker, that gets, I think, at the heart of what we all want. He writes that though we travel the world over to find the beautiful, we must carry it with us, or we will find it not. If we are truly to come home, to have our homecoming, we must understand that home is not where we live, not where our bodies happen to be, but something within us that we make for ourselves. It starts by us knowing and working hard to find out what gives us life, what feeds our spirit and causes our heart to warm, and where love shows up for us, no matter what is going around through all time and place in our lives. Think about what that feels like for you, when you have felt most at home. What are the bracelets that ground you to that sense of being okay, of feeling like this is a place for you, that you belong in this universe no matter what else is out there, that you have love, you are worth being loved. Think of your memories, your sensations, the joys. When we celebrate Homecoming Sunday, we celebrate then not just coming back to this place, these 4 stone walls that feel safe, even these people who we know, or we might soon know to be good friends. Our homecoming here is a celebration of what this place means, a place dedicated not to being home here, but to helping us become home in this universe that we all inhabit, a universe that is so deeply complicated, one that is so full of beauty and hope and love, but also a universe of despair and hardship and cruelty. It's easy to feel at home when we're feeling good, but in this complicated world, leaving this place is the real work. At its best, this is what religious communities and this community tries to do. I've always assumed that the line, it might be trite, home is where the heart is, meant that home is whatever we give our heart to, who or what we love. But we can also take it more literally. Home is where the heart is, which is inside each of us, inside our body. It is with us wherever we go. We just have to realize it, listen to it, and do our best to make it come alive. This is what a 6-year-old boy named Jonah tried to do. I don't know how it will go for him the rest of his life. I know that being 11 is a time with a lot of changes about to happen to you. I hope that he can keep his sense of home through all of it, a sense of who he is, a sense of being okay just because he is him, a sense of being loved and lovable no matter what. And here in this sacred place, I hope it for all of us too, that we find what makes our home home. We have the bracelets in our life, those reminders, that ability to center us into that time, that feeling, that home that makes us content, at peace, and make that homecoming real. May it be so for all of us, and amen.
Of